How powerful does a phone really have to be before you stop thinking of it as just a phone? Does it need to shoot 8K videos, handle concert footage, or even capture things like logos with precision? Should it support LUTs, tons of external gear, or even replace your entire workflow for photography and video? These are the kinds of questions that kept coming to my mind while using the Vivo X300 Ultra. There's something about this device that feels slightly unusual. It doesn't come across as a typical over-the-top upgrade. I mean, just look at that 400mm teleconverter. That alone is already pushing boundaries for a smartphone. When you combine that with everything it can do in terms of shooting, you really start to question what this device actually is. Is it still a flagship phone, or are we basically looking at a handheld camera now? To be honest, when Vivo was heavily promoting their camera capabilities in the V series last year, I thought it was just another case of brands jumping on the phone equals camera trend. We've seen that claim so many times before. I didn't expect them to take it this seriously. But let's jump straight to the point. A quick shout out to my tech partner from China for sharing this video. A big thank you for making this possible. Hey everyone, it's Maiky from Maiky. If you love staying updated with the latest gadgets, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss out on our exciting tech content. Last year's Vivo X200 Ultra felt more like an experiment, almost like they were testing whether a phone could evolve into something beyond just a phone. And now, with this generation, it's clear they've figured things out and are fully committed to this direction. The X300 Ultra doesn't just bring more complete video specs or wider focal length coverage, its entire feature set feels built around professional level content creation. And the impressive part, it doesn't lose its identity in the process. It's not trying to do everything and failing, it actually has a clear personality. Even if you're not a pro, it still makes it easier to capture good photos. I won't spend too much time on the design since you've probably already seen it all over social media. But this new film green color definitely stands out. Compared to the other options, it feels fresher and more youthful. The back panel uses a split design, and interestingly, the logo has been rotated horizontally this time. And honestly, that small change, combined with the camera module design, makes holding the phone in landscape orientation feel surprisingly natural, especially when your index finger rests near the lens. That said, I do have one small complaint. If the logo is now horizontal, why is the Zeiss Blue badge still vertical? For anyone who notices details like that, it's a bit frustrating. When I first picked up the phone, I also noticed something odd. It looks like the camera module has been moved upward, but when you actually compare it side by side with the previous model, you realize the position hasn't changed at all. It's just been visually narrowed, creating that illusion. Even though the X300 Ultra is slightly heavier than its predecessor, it doesn't really feel that way in hand because the body is slimmer. And here's something I genuinely appreciate. They've completely removed the physical camera button. Some might call that a downgrade, but honestly, it's the opposite. Ever since Apple introduced that feature, a lot of brands tried to copy it, but very few actually made it useful. In most cases, it just feels unnecessary. So, seeing it removed here, I fully support that decision. Another thing you'll quickly notice is how much more prominent the camera bump has become. It's clear that a lot more hardware has been packed in. This time, the main camera jumps to 200 megapixels, and even the telephoto lens gets a new 200 megapixel sensor. On top of that, all three lenses now have improved image stabilization. For the ultra-wide camera, the difference isn't as obvious because its field of view already minimizes visible shake. But once you switch to the telephoto lens, the improvement becomes immediately noticeable. You can clearly see how much more stable the image is. The more I use it, the more I feel like stabilization works like a safety net. No matter how shaky your hands are or how quickly you're shooting, it gives you a much higher chance of getting a usable shot. This becomes especially valuable in low-light situations or when capturing fast-moving subjects. Take the telephoto lens, for example. It even supports ultra-light motion capture at 60 FPS, and what's really impressive is that even when using a teleconverter, handheld shooting is still very reliable. Speaking of teleconverters, I initially thought the whole concept was more of a marketing gimmick, but surprisingly, the market proved otherwise. After launch, these accessories were constantly sold out. Some people even bought multiple units just to rent them out at concerts. Yes, you heard that right. A phone accessory turning into an investment product. That's pretty wild. Even some of our team members tried them out at concerts and F1 events, and the results genuinely exceeded expectations. Once something proves its real-world value, the industry reacts quickly, and that's exactly what happened. Other manufacturers started following the trend and developing their own versions. This time, the 200mm teleconverter has been redesigned to be smaller and lighter, making it much easier to carry around. And then there's the new 400mm version, which almost feels like it's targeting those photographers you see in parks with massive lenses, or even aviation enthusiasts shooting planes from afar. A traditional 400mm prime lens is huge and requires serious strength to handle. In comparison, this teleconverter is compact and can even be mounted on a tripod without any hassle. Of course, some people will say it's a niche accessory that you'll barely use, and that's fair. But the truth is, even if you only use it a few times a year, those moments can make it totally worth the price. And more importantly, it's not one of those overly complicated add-ons. Once attached, it integrates seamlessly with the phone. You can still use all the shooting modes, and it even supports features like live photos with direct output, making it feel almost identical to using a native lens. In a way, this is starting to look like a form of modular design. And the good news is, existing users don't need to feel left out. These lenses share the same mounting system, so future compatibility is very likely. Clearly, Vivo has a long-term vision behind all of this. Once you invest in that zoom lens, upgrading your phone later isn't just about the phone anymore. The overall cost quietly goes up, and naturally, when the time comes to switch devices, you'll probably lean toward Vivo again. Anyone who's into photography will immediately understand why that happens. Now, looking at the 35mm main camera on the Vivo X300 Ultra, it supports 200 megapixels. And if you really zoom into your shots to check the details, you can see the improvement. But honestly, comparing it at that level almost feels like a futuristic showdown. The 35mm on the Vivo X200 Ultra was already extremely capable. And realistically, who spends their day constantly zooming into photos? Personally, I've found myself appreciating the 35mm focal length more and more. It hits a sweet spot. It doesn't feel too tight when shooting people, and it doesn't feel too wide or empty when capturing landscapes. For everyday use like street shots, quick snapshots, or even food photography, it just works really well. If you're curious about which focal length you actually use the most, there's a simple trick. Just use an app that reads EXIF data and analyze your photos. If 35mm turns out to be your go-to, then Vivo's approach to ultra-wide lenses over the past 2 generations will definitely appeal to you. In terms of hardware, it's honestly ahead of many competitors' ultra-wide cameras. That said, I think the biggest advantage here isn't just photography, it's video. On most phones, the ultra-wide lens often feels like an afterthought. Smaller sensors, smaller apertures, they might hold up during the day, but once the light drops, the quality falls apart. You switch from the main camera to ultra-wide, and suddenly the footage looks noticeably worse. But Vivo does things differently. With improved stabilization and better overall tuning, the ultra-wide camera here isn't just usable, it's reliable enough for real work. Another area worth highlighting is the color tuning on the X300 Ultra. Long time, people have had a similar opinion about Vivo's imaging. The photos look great, especially in low light, but sometimes the processing feels a bit too aggressive, giving images an overly digital look. Clearly, that feedback didn't go unnoticed. Last year, they introduced a more natural lighting system to better preserve realistic light and shadow. And now, with the X300 Ultra, they've taken it even further by adding a 12-channel 5-megapixel multispectral color sensor along with their own color science system. The goal is simple: make photos look less like they came from a phone and more like they came from a proper camera. The best part is, it's super easy to use. Just switch to the primary color mode. Compared to the default vivid setting, you'll immediately notice that the heavy digital sharpening is toned down, especially in scenes with complex lighting. The results feel much closer to what your eyes actually see, even for portraits. The images don't feel overly dramatic or stylized. That said, if you're mostly posting on platforms like social media, the default vivid mode might actually suit you better. At the end of the day, most people just want their photos to look good, not necessarily perfectly realistic. But if you care about editing later or want something visually balanced, the primary color option is definitely the way to go. What's really smart here is that the phone doesn't force a choice on you. It simply gives you options. Do you want something eye-catching or something true to life? You decide. I also noticed that the X300 Ultra brings in a bunch of new creative features. There are fresh filters like chasing light, rich, and cool white, which make it incredibly easy to capture great-looking shots. On top of that, there are new watermark styles and even a color palette that feels somewhat inspired by Apple Wi-Fi. What's even better is that these filters are now fully adjustable. They're no longer fixed presets. You can fine-tune them to your liking. You can layer effects like soft lighting, grain, and glow, almost like mixing your own visual style. You can even share your setups through QR codes or passwords, which adds a fun social element. And here's the wild part. These effects aren't limited to photos. You can apply them directly to videos as well, which really expands the creative possibilities. On top of that, the long-awaited 25 megapixel direct output feature is finally here. The interface has also been cleaned up, making everything feel more organized, and you can now customize where functions are placed. Entering humanistic mode is as simple as swiping left or right, and it no longer clashes with gesture controls at the bottom. It's clear they've been listening to user feedback, but I do have one small suggestion. Right now, most of the controls are stacked on the right side, which makes one-handed use, especially with the left hand, a bit awkward. Shifting some of those controls to the left would make things much more comfortable. When it comes to video, the X300 Ultra introduces a dedicated Pro recording mode. The moment you enter it, the interface transforms into something much more professional. All your key parameters are visible, and you can even import custom 3D LUTs for real-time monitoring. You also get control over things like metering, focus assistance, aspect ratio, and even the option to disable built-in stabilization if you're using a gimbal. Think of it this way, the standard video mode is perfect for quick point-and-shoot recording. It's fast, simple, and reliable. But the Pro mode is for those moments when you want to take things seriously. When you need full control over exposure, focus, and color for post-production, it's all there. And most importantly, it never makes you feel like you've hit a wall where you need to switch to a dedicated camera. On top of everything else, this phone goes all in on video. It supports full focal length 4K at 120 FPS in 10-bit log, as well as full focal length 4K 120 FPS in Dolby Vision. These are the kind of specs you'd normally expect from professional video platforms. So yes, it can handle your daily vlogs without breaking a sweat, but it's also genuinely capable of serious production work. It even includes a built-in teleprompter, which shows how much thought has gone into the experience. That said, if you're planning to shoot everything in log, transfer it to your computer, and spend hours color grading each clip, it can get pretty time-consuming. Personally, I've found myself using the built-in cinematic styles in the regular video mode much more often. One of them, Film Look, feels like a polished cinematic filter designed for everyday users. It delivers smooth footage, pleasing colors, and a more refined overall look compared to standard recording. It's perfect for those moments when you want great results without diving into editing. The other option, Film Style, leans even further into a movie-like aesthetic. It uses a 2.4:1 widescreen aspect ratio and a 24 FPS frame rate, which aligns with classic film standards. You also get effects like motion blur, grain, halo highlights, and vignetting, all working together to create a strong atmosphere. It's a bit more selective in terms of when to use it, but when the scene fits, it really delivers that cinematic impact. And it's not just about visuals. The audio setup here is just as impressive. The Vivo X300 Ultra packs 4 microphones into the body and offers 6 preset recording modes. You can also connect TWS earbuds or Bluetooth wireless mics directly, which means you can easily turn it into a portable recording setup just by wearing earphones and clipping on a mic. For anyone who enjoys shooting videos, that's a huge convenience. Looking at the overall imaging system, it really feels like Vivo has figured out how to cater to both types of users. If you're someone who just wants to snap photos and post them on social media, everything is ready to go. Filters, good-looking results, and a smooth, simple experience. You don't need to worry about technical details to get great-looking videos. At the same time, if you're into serious content creation, editing, or even using your phone for professional work, it's fully equipped for that too. You get pro-level modes, high-end video specs, customizable settings, and even support for additional accessories. Simply put, this phone has an incredibly low barrier to entry, but also a very high ceiling. You can treat it like a simple point and shoot, or push it as a full creative tool. Now let's quickly talk about the hardware. As expected, it's powered by the latest Snapdragon flagship chip from Qualcomm, and the vapor chamber cooling system has been expanded compared to the previous generation. In real-world use, whether you're scrolling through apps or gaming, the performance stays stable and consistent. The display has also been upgraded to a 2K resolution with a 144Hz refresh rate, and it's now a flat panel. The visuals are sharp and detailed, and the flat design makes it more responsive while reducing accidental touches. For eye comfort, you get two options: a 2160Hz high-frequency PWM dimming mode or full brightness DC-like dimming. You can choose whichever feels easier on your eyes. Combined with circular polarization and very low brightness levels, it makes nighttime usage much more comfortable. I also noticed improvements in outdoor visibility. Even at higher brightness, the screen doesn't look washed out or gray, which is a nice touch. Beyond that, you're getting all the expected flagship features like IP68 and IP69 water and dust resistance, ultrasonic 3D fingerprint unlocking, 100-watt wired charging, and 40-watt wireless charging. Signal performance has also been slightly refined. For example, after stepping out of an elevator, the phone reconnects to the network quickly. As for battery life, I was initially a bit concerned, despite the 6600 mAh capacity, but in daily use it holds up well and doesn't feel like a drawback. When it comes to software, Origin OS continues to live up to its reputation. What's interesting is how well it now works across ecosystems. Devices like iPhone, Mac, iPad, Apple Watch, and AirPods can all integrate smoothly with the X300 Ultra. Features like Shake to Share for group chats and cross-device photo access make everyday use much more convenient. At this point, simply having strong hardware integration isn't enough. That's become standard. What really matters now is how well devices from different ecosystems can work together. And that's where this phone brings real value by reducing friction for users. As for what's next for the system and any upcoming features, we'll probably have to wait for the next Vivo developer conference to find out. So yeah, that pretty much sums up the X300 Ultra. Looking back at Vivo's V-Single concept from last year, it's actually quite interesting. A lot of brands introduce big ideas, but whether they follow through is another story. In this case, Vivo didn't just talk about the concept, they've been steadily turning it into reality. So, if you ask me whether the X300 Ultra truly qualifies as a V-Single, here's how I see it. When a device can handle everything from casual everyday use to serious content creation, even supports an entire ecosystem of accessories and expansion, it starts to go beyond being just a phone. But I'm curious, what do you think? That's it for this one. Catch you in the next video.